Burkina Faso has been at the top of news headlines as it has made an unbelievable move. Unlike Europe or any other countries, Burkina Faso removed and arrested the chief of staff of the transitional military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, within seconds after he was caught selling his country. This chief of staff, Lieutenant Colonel Evrard Samda, has been a special man to Ibrahim Traoré, staying closer to him. However, Ibrahim Traoré did not know that he had put someone disloyal to him and his country. Recently, the news that Burkina Faso sacked its chief of staff made headlines throughout the world. Nobody could understand why such a man, who was in the inner circle of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, could be removed. So why was he removed? What did Burkina Faso's intelligence agency find out about him, and how he is being treated now? Let's find that out and know the whole story in detail. Earlier, African countries, including Burkina Faso, used to witness coup attempts against the civilian or military leaders trying to make their countries independent and powerful. Before they could realize that a coup was being staged against them, the coup used to materialize, and they were dethroned and banished. This was because those leaders usually used to be against the external forces like France, which in turn tried to influence these countries. But when France realized that the president was not following its orders, it encouraged a faction in the military to carry out a coup and control power on behalf of France. But in 2023, this has become difficult for France. Countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and Gabon did see coups, but they had a different reason behind them. Instead of being carried out to bring France into power, these coups were aimed at getting back what their countries must have. Hence, military leaders in these countries strengthened their positions. However, France could not allow that to happen, so it started preparing for coup against these leaders. But the truth is that the military leaders had taken the entire country into their control. No faction or individual could be used against those leaders by France to stage a coup. However, France tried anyway, and that's why we heard the news from Burkina Faso that a coup attempt was revealed and failed. Within the same month of September 2023, Burkina Faso announced that a second coup attempt against Captain Ibrahim Traoré was exposed and the traitors were arrested. You should know that this second coup attempt was not an ordinary one. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's chief of staff, Lieutenant Colonel Evrard Samda, was the main character in this coup attempt. Burkina Faso's transitional military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, responded to the failed coup attempt against him in late September 2023 by removing this chief of staff. This action was taken through a national decree signed by Captain Ibrahim Traoré and issued on Wednesday, October 4, 2023. Lieutenant Colonel Evrard Samda has been swiftly replaced as the head of the National Gendarmerie by Lieutenant Colonel Kouagri Natama with immediate effect. This development follows persistent rumors linking Lieutenant Colonel Evrard Samda's failed coup attempt, with some sources speculating that he may have received as much as 25 billion CFA francs, roughly equivalent to $40 million, to betray his country. Fortunately, the coup attempt against Captain Ibrahim Traoré was unsuccessful. The rumors of a possible coup emerged on the night of September 26th, with social media accounts posting messages encouraging supporters of the junta to rally in favor of Ibrahim Traoré. On the evening of September 27, 2023, the junta officially revealed that a coup attempt by high-ranking security officers had been foiled. You should know that this coup was not only prevented but exposed due to the intelligence agency. If it had not been exposed before, the chief of staff would have staged a successful coup, dethroning Captain Ibrahim Traoré. It's because the chief of staff is a high-ranking post and has the power to call enough soldiers to stage a coup. However, the chief of staff's strategy was exposed, followed by the arrest of 4 officers, including 2 of his close associates, on suspicion of involvement in a plot against state security. These 4 officers were not ordinary ones. They had the power to really dethrone Captain Ibrahim Traoré and choose a military leader among themselves who would run the country. These officers were Abdul Aziz Awoba, the commander of the Burkinabe Special Forces, Lieutenant Colonel Boubacar Keita, director of the Higher Institute of Civil Protection Studies, Lieutenant Colonel Cheikh Hamza Ouattara, commander of the Special Forces of the Burkinabe Defense Forces, and Christophe Maiga, deputy commander of BDF Special Forces. While many official reports from Burkina Faso do not explicitly mention financial incentives to depose Captain Ibrahim Traoré, many analysts and Pan-Africanists believe that it is plausible that the plot to unseat Traoré was backed by substantial financial support. Such coups, orchestrated by powerful entities behind the scenes, are often financially and intelligently supported in the hopes of deposing strong leaders and installing puppet presidents in their place. That's what was done against Thomas Sankara, a revolutionary African leader and the president of Burkina Faso. Since he was trying to make his country powerful and independent, he became a threat to the international powers. Decades later, the eerie remnants of the crime scene where Thomas Sankara was assassinated have remained unchanged. An abandoned building with shattered windows and dusty, desolate corridors remains the same. It was within these haunting surroundings, back in October 1987, that a sudden eruption of gunfire shattered the tranquility, while Burkina Faso's 37-year-old president, Thomas Sankara, was in a meeting with 6 of his aides. One of those aides, Aluna Traoré, described the deafening sounds as a tornado on a tin roof as he retraced his steps through this ghostly location. Sankara, a charismatic military officer driven by revolutionary zeal, had swiftly transformed this West African nation in just 4 years. He implemented sweeping policies that championed the impoverished, challenged Western powers, and garnered admiration throughout the continent. However, on that unfortunate day, a group of assailants appeared at his doorstep. Sankara, seemingly aware of their intentions, declared, "It's me they want," lifting his hands as he faced the waiting soldiers, according to Mr. Traoré's recollection. Moments later, Sankara was fatally shot, with new forensic evidence revealing he was struck 7 times. Mr. Traoré was the sole survivor of that meeting. Just after 5 years of assuming power, the foreign powers not only dethroned but assassinated this beloved leader of Africa. These shocking events have taken center stage in a gripping murder trial. Over the course of 5 months, a military tribunal heard testimonies from 14 men accused of plotting, executing, or concealing the deaths of Sankara and 12 others in 1987. This marked the tragic stage of a violent coup d'etat that plunged Burkina Faso into decades of oppressive rule. Although investigating a 36-year-old crime presents numerous challenges, this trial has revived a Cold War-era narrative. It unfolds as a story of power struggles, intrigue, and the betrayal of an iconic leader often compared to Che Guevara. Sankara's image is omnipresent in Burkina Faso, adorning motorbikes, murals, t-shirts, and even chocolate bars. "We aren't seeking vengeance," highlighted Fidele Kientega, a former advisor to Sankara, and one of over 100 witnesses at the trial. "But we do demand the truth to be unveiled." What he was pointing toward is the real powers who encouraged the military leader to stage a coup and murder Thomas Sankara. The main defendant, former President Blaise Compaoré, once a close associate of Sankara, took control within hours of his death and went on to rule Burkina Faso with an iron grip for 27 years. Furthermore, the trial only briefly touched upon the contentious issue of whether, as was common in post-colonial Africa, foreign powers had a hand in the untimely demise of the young leader. During the Reagan era, Sankara found himself at odds with American officials due to his staunch opposition to imperialism and neocolonialism, and his associations with Fidel Castro of Cuba and Colonel Muammar al-Gaddafi of Libya. Since Sankara had already shown his leaning, the West had put him on the blacklist where Fidel Castro and Muammar Gaddafi were already present. The most significant suspicions were directed at France, the former colonial power of the country. Declassified American diplomatic cables indicate that French authorities were committed to undermining Sankara from the early stages of his leadership. This critical aspect, however, has not been broached during the trial. Numerous countries were dissatisfied with the revolution in Burkina Faso, remarked Antaguis, a lawyer representing the Sankara family. They saw Sankara as a threat to their influence, to their hold over the region. His integrity served as an inspiration to many Africans, which I believe is one of the reasons why he was assassinated. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Once Thomas Sankara was assassinated, the new coup leader, Mr. Compaoré, had left no stone unturned in erasing the memory of the slain leader, who was hurriedly buried at night in an unmarked grave by prisoners working under the light of a military truck's headlights. The family's request for a Catholic funeral was rejected, and the death certificate falsely attributed his passing to natural causes. This was done with the beloved leader of Africa, who was fighting for his people against the Western powers. However, he was murdered and buried as if he were nothing. Before the Thomas Sankara era, Burkina Faso was a nation stricken by poverty with limited water and natural resources. However, after assuming power in 1983 at the age of 33, one of the youngest leaders in modern African history, Thomas Sankara embarked on an ambitious mission to completely redefine the country. He discarded the colonial-era name, Upper Volta, in favor of Burkina Faso, meaning land of upright men. He pledged to reduce its reliance on the West while combating corruption and inefficiency domestically. The government's fleet of Mercedes limousines was sold off and replaced with more economical Renault sedans, and the president hitched rides to international conferences on the planes of other African leaders. What he was doing back then is now being compared to Burkina Faso's current military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Much like Thomas Sankara, who assumed power at the age of 33, Ibrahim did so at the age of 34. Thomas Sankara introduced progressive reforms ahead of their time, implementing a quota for women in government roles, prohibiting forced marriages and female genital mutilation, and initiating a campaign to plant 10 million trees to combat desertification. He fostered an image of revolutionary leaders, attending meetings with an ivory-engraved pistol, a gift from North Korean leader Kim Il-sung, and posing alongside musicians with his red Fender Stratocaster guitar. "This isn't a toy," he proclaimed to a Harlem crowd in 1984, waving the pistol, "and when we use these, it'll be against imperialism." His clashes with the French leadership in the Reagan era arose from their view of him as a disruptive influence in a region they saw as their strategic territory. "This man is quite unsettling," President François Mitterrand remarked during a tense visit to Burkina Faso in November 1986, responding to Sankara's critical speech about France's tolerance of leaders from apartheid South Africa. "He's going further than necessary." Mr. Kientega, the Sankara aide, was troubled by the exchange. "I told him, 'You've started a war,'" he recalled. Following his death on October 15, 1987, Sankara joined the ranks of martyred African revolutionaries, alongside figures like Patrice Lumumba of Congo, anti-apartheid activist Steve Biko of South Africa, and nationalist Amilcar Cabral of Guinea-Bissau. And 27 years later, during the 2014 uprising that led to the toppling of Mr. Compaoré, with the parliament ablaze and his brother's mansion looted, the crowds invoked Sankara's name, waving placards bearing his image. Today, it's the victim who stands tall. A towering bronze statue of the slain leader, erected in 2019 in front of the building where he met his end, has become the main attraction in Ouagadougou. The trial focused on who was behind Sankara's assassination and was under the shadow of France. In other words, France had its eyes on what was being discussed in the trial, ensuring that no one said its name during the trial. A military tribunal in 2022 delivered its verdict, handing down life sentences to some of those implicated in Sankara's assassination. Of significant note among the convicted was Sankara's former comrade, Blaise Compaoré, with whom he had seized power in a 1983 coup and who later seized power after Sankara's assassination. Although the former chief warrant officer in Compaoré's presidential guard, Hyacinthe Kafando, also received a life sentence. Both men were tried in absentia, as Compaoré has been residing in exile in Ivory Coast. In other words, even if the orchestrators of Sankara's death were given sentences, they were well protected. The third notable defendant, General Gilbert Diendere, who was present during the trial, was also found guilty of attack on state security, complicity in murder, and concealment of a corpse. Following the verdict, Mariam Sankara, the widow of Thomas Sankara, expressed that the trial not only revealed who President Thomas Sankara is, who the individual is, who the politician is, and what he stood for, but also what those who assassinated him desired. Prosper Farama, a lawyer representing the families of the victims, stressed that beyond the sentences issued, establishing the truth in court was the most crucial aspect. During the trial, various details emerged confirming the long-held public belief that the three main defendants, Blaise Compaoré, Hyacinthe Kafando, and General Gilbert Diendere, had plotted Sankara's assassination to gain power. Yamba Elise Ilbudo, one of the 14 individuals on trial, admitted at the start of the proceedings in October 2021 that he had played a role in the murder. Ilbudo clarified that his actions were not premeditated and that he did not participate in the entire plot. He testified that on the day of the coup, he was at Blaise Compaoré's residence with other soldiers, following the orders of Hyacinthe Kafando, head of security. As the trial progressed, It was revealed that Sankara was scheduled to lead a meeting with his special cabinet on the day of his assassination. The events unfolded as a distressing tale of betrayal and deceit, uncovering the full extent of the conspiracy that led to Sankara's tragic demise. Sankara, a magnetic Marxist revolutionary often likened to Africa's Che Guevara, led Burkina Faso during the 1980s to turn the country into an agricultural testing ground and enhance its healthcare and education systems. Despite his brief tenure, his influence and legacy remain revered not just in Burkina Faso, but across the African continent. Apart from the trial, authorities in Burkina Faso are investigating the international aspect of Sankara's death, which focuses on the involvement of Ivory Coast and the former colonial power France. That's something France did not want. Declassified American diplomatic cables reveal that French officials actively sought to eliminate Sankara during the initial months of his rule, viewing him as a hazardous influence, as stated by Brian J. Peterson, a history professor at Union College and the author of a recent Sankara biography. The day after Sankara's death, French agents removed sensitive wiretap recordings from the offices of the local intelligence service, the trial disclosed. And in the subsequent years, Mr. Compaoré became a staunch ally of Paris, to the extent that during his tumultuous ouster in 2014, French troops evacuated him by helicopter to Ivory Coast, reported French news outlets. Acknowledging these suspicions, France's President Emmanuel Macron pledged in 2017 to declassify all French documents related to the Sankara case. Thus far, 3 sets of documents have been released, but they omit numerous secret records, including those from the notorious Africa Cell, which coordinated France's most sensitive operations in its former colonies. Sankara's enduring allure raises compelling questions about what the young revolutionary president might have become had he lived. Other once promising leaders of the same generation, such as Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, transformed into autocrats. Yet Sankara's reputation as an upright, incorruptible figure continues to resonate throughout Africa, invoked by other beret-wearing firebrands as far away as South Africa. Now Captain Ibrahim Traoré, at only 34 years old, is being called the reincarnation of Thomas Sankara. However, he must know that it was never easy for Thomas Sankara, and he was assassinated in the end just because he had taken a firm stand against external pressure. If he wants his country not to go into the hands of anyone wicked who would sell it to France and foreign countries, he has to consolidate his forces and stay brave. Until now, he has successfully resisted international pressure, thinking only about his own people, the same way as Thomas Sankara did. However, he is going beyond that and building strong alliances with its neighboring countries and even countries outside the African continent, like Russia. Perhaps he can be a leader for which France will use all its power, but he will triumph in the end. Isn't it what every African country should do to discourage the internal traitors who help the external forces in coups? What do you think should be done to the Burkina Faso Chief of Staff? Let us know your thoughts on whether there will be another coup against Ibrahim Traoré, as many have been foiled. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.